welcome to the GSTL. It is time for our losers match between Slayers, EG, and Prime. Of course, joined with me today is Kaldor as usual. How are you doing?
I'm feeling wet.
I know the feeling, man.
I was told that the Korean summer is crazy, but nobody really prepared me for what's going on in Seoul right now.
I know, there's so much GSTL Code S and Code A.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was thinking about. No, seriously guys, it's pouring. It's raining like crazy for the last few days, and I was told that it won't stop, and apparently it doesn't.
No, it will probably go on for about a week and a half more at the very least. Once it starts, it usually continues this combo until the combo is broken. Once the combo is broken, that's it, and it's over.
I went to the gym today, which is like a 10-minute walk, and I have my really small umbrella, and usually that's fine, but I was soaked by the time they arrived. So on my way back, I actually bought one of those big-ass umbrellas, like the really big ones.
The big one.
Exactly. And
like the penguin from Batman umbrella,
exactly.
Man.
I had really stopped myself because I took this umbrella into the elevator and was like, oh my god, this feels good. And I was standing in the elevator. When the door opened, I was really so close. I was just jumping out, like shouting, with the power of Grayskull! I didn't end up doing it because there's always the threat of the doors opening and suddenly there's this old Korean woman in front of you. She would have probably ripped me apart because, guys, old women in Korea, they are mean.
They can be quite stern, I would say.
They are. And actually, the GOM house is like this Juma training camp. Those weird and old, mean Korean women. The GOM house, the house we're in, it is a training camp. Don't laugh at me. 2 days ago, I walk into the elevator and the door opens and this small girl, and she might be 8, with her bike blocking the door, so I can't go out. And she's just looking at me like really angry. She doesn't even say anything. I'm like, well, you have to move. I can't go out like this. And she just looks at me like really angry, like, you are in my elevator. I got scared. I got really scared.
The GOM house can be pretty scary for that sometimes, man, for sure. I used to live there and it was like that sometimes.
But guys, having a look at our teams, we have Slayers EG versus Prime today.
Yep. And look at all the Code B players Slayers has to offer right now. A massive roster of 23 players versus the Prime roster, which has been a little bit thinned out, down to 10. You can see it's a little bit Zerg lopsided these days as well.
On the other hand, we have the coach, by the way, Anyong, who just fell short in Code A, the round of 48, and MMA for the Slayers team, who is not here today.
Yep, and look at our most contributing players. You can see Creator has the highest win rate right now, as does Puma, and MMA having the most contributions, but recently has not been used very much.
Yeah, we have a couple of players that are not here today. MMA, as I currently mentioned, is in the US, as far as I know, for a show match. And on the other hand, Thorzane is not on the bench either.
Yeah.
2 players that are missing.
A little bit disappointed we don't get to see the Thorzane down here today, but that's alright. Symbol still leading the charge despite losing a game, being 9-1. Puzzle at a close second with 9-2. And I'm thinking he's going to be probably one of the scariest players that the Prime team will have to face today.
Yeah, definitely. Today is going to be really exciting. We have a lot of good matches that might come in today. The first, actually, is Alicia versus Björn.
Yeah, Alicia versus Björn. It is going to be, of course, a Protoss versus Terran. I think Björn by far favored to take this starting match, though. He's much more so the heavy hitter. Yeah, Alicia's well-known. He's played in individual leagues a lot. He beat MC once. That was something that, he kind of got known for, but...
And let's not forget, Alicia actually beat Marine King at MLG, so that was really... I would say a little bit surprising because just a few weeks earlier, Alicia was not able to make it through the Code A qualifier. He fell short. I think it was in the first or the second round, like very, very early in the qualifier. And then he goes to MLG, and suddenly he's just in this autopilot mode where he plays game after game after game and does so well. So if he gets another run like this today, he might be able to take a couple of games for his team, and he might be able to kill Björn. But as you already said, Björn, a very, very strong Terran player, and he proved it.
Yeah. Well, as you can see here, Prime team coming out a little bit smaller than they once were, but they are definitely just as strong. The champions of last season. And you can see Maru, a young player there. You can see Björn himself, Creator, Marine King. They're all getting in there with Gerard. Get their chance ready, getting pumped.
Björn is sometimes a little bit awkward, isn't he?
Yeah, he can be.
Yeah, we were at one of the qualifiers just lately, and the way that he sat down on his chairs with his knees really tucked to his chest and everything, it looked like really, really awkward. Sometimes he's a bit weird, not in necessarily a bad way.
No, yeah, he's
just like
he's like L from Death Note, man. He just like sits a little bit strangely.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect comparison. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the feeling I got when I saw him doing that. But he is scary. He's kind of been in the shadows for a while.
That is actually the best comparison ever now that I really think about it a little bit more. He's like L, you're right.
He is. He's like L, man. He was in the shadows for a while. No one really knew what he was doing while he, exiled himself from the GSTL. Then he came back and has just been crushing everyone, making it to the round of 8 of Code S as well. Here is Prime's team broken down by race.
Here we go with our Zerg players. We have, of course, Anyong, the captain, Bung Bung, Ria, and Samosa.
And some Terrans, Marine King, Björn, and Maru, one of the youngest players ever. Yeah, that's a pretty strong group of Terrans there. And last but not least, Protoss is with Creator and Classic. Double C's there.
Especially Creator, of course. Very, very strong.
Yeah.
It was really funny, by the way. After his win, I talked to Naniwa about a couple of his builds, and he looked at me and was like, you know it, it's a Creator build. Creator and Tails are the two players that Naniwa really appreciates when it comes down to developing builds, and he always watches their streams in order to get some ideas for his own play. So that's exactly what he does. And what does Marine King do?
Marine King is being the king to his Marine Prince right there. Just taming his hair a little bit, being an older brother, being the young there.
It's so cool, by the way, how Maru cannot look over the top of the monitor. He is so small, guys. You have no idea. If you haven't seen him in real life, you have no clue. This guy is
when
tiny.
You see him in interviews, see him in the booth, it does not do justice as to seeing him in real life. Well, here comes the Slayers team. You can see both EG Koreans, Puma and JYP sitting there in the center. And Jessica wearing a new hairdo today. She kind of looks like Gina. And you can say,
it looks really good. I told her earlier that I really like it.
And Sela told her for us that I thought that she looked like Gina, and she didn't know who Gina was. That just goes to show how famous Jessica is. She doesn't even know who Gina is. How does that even make sense? Don't tell me you don't know who Gina is. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No, I do.
Okay.
That's actually...
See, even Caldor knows.
Of course I do. Hey, I'm watching K-pop every single day when I'm at the GSL or GSTL. Of course I know who Gina is.
Okay, excellent.
And there's Boxer there. I didn't see him earlier.
Yeah, he was kind of hiding out, but he's here. Here is our lineup for the Slayers team, of course, broken down by race.
We start once again. No, we don't start with the Zergs. We start with the Terrans with Ryung, Clyde, and Puma.
Sick game from Ryung yesterday versus Nesty, or rather, Dongrygo. Check that out.
Slayers, Mia, Koka, and Yu-Gi-Oh! The Zergs. Definitely going to see some of them today.
And our Protoss is Alicia, Puzzle, Crank, and JYP. A little bit Protoss heavy, and Puzzle definitely being the toughest opponent for the other teams so far this season.
Yeah, Sela likes to say that Puzzle simply does not lose. We talked about it when we had the round of 48, and the only comment that Sela had was like, yeah, Puzzle is imbalanced.
Yeah, that is pretty much how it goes. Crank, though, is a really strong Protoss, and JYP, his Blink Micro, his all-ins are quite strong. They use him for that type of play oftentimes against Zergs.
Do you guys remember when we actually said in the, I think it was in Code A, that he is a big teddy bear, as well as Lino? We talked a little bit about it. Earlier on, I actually told him, Salah translated, in order to make sure that he understands, even though JYP is perfect English. And it was so funny, and he kind of agreed. He did not agree that Lino is also teddy bear. He wanted to be the only one. When I told him that it's actually about race, that it's the Zerg teddy bear against the Protoss teddy bear, then he was happy. He was like, okay, I can live with that.
Yeah, you can live with that.
But yeah, he laughed quite hard when he heard it.
And he agrees. Yeah, he does, man. Look at this guy, Björn, sitting in the booth. He's got that grin on his face. 50-50 win rate so far. This guy has been looking so strong ever since he came back from the Coca incident. And, I mean, it's been a while since that has happened, so it's almost like silly to talk about it still, but I haven't seen this guy play a bad game since he's been back, not even once.
Yeah, you're right. He's actually very, 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 very strong. And this is a tough opponent for Alicia in the first round. But this is the GSTL, and crazy things have happened this season.
Yeah, Prime has put Björn out early several times this season, and last time he wasn't able to come through, so this time he really, really needs to. And remember, guys, this is the losers match. Whoever loses today actually is out of the team league. Now here is Alicia, his opponent, someone I've spent a ton of time with. I traveled with him several times, and love to sit next to this guy on the plane. He's got a lot to say. Charming personality.
And very outgoing as well.
Yeah.
A lot of Koreans are a little bit more reserved, a little bit shy. Not so Alicia. Well, he's not someone who will kind of try to dominate a conversation or force himself on you, like talking to you and whatever.
He loves to interact.
Exactly. That's putting it exactly the way that
But
was
I mean,
going
this is going to be a really tough match for him. He loves his Void Ray all-ins. We may see something like that from him. The map is going to be Ohana. It's a 2-player map. When it's a 2-player map and you're a pro playing against Björn, the all-ins are pretty tempting. We'll see what he's got up his sleeve. I actually don't expect him to do an all-in, not on this map, but he has done a lot of Void Ray all-ins in the past.
Well, Alicia, on the other hand, also played very straight-up games against Marine King at MLG, and he's a tough opponent to face, so you always have to be a little bit careful. The thing about Alicia, though, is it depends on what kind of shape he's in at the end of the day.
Yeah. Alicia, I think his chances here are decent if he plays his normal straight-up games. Like, if he doesn't all-in, he might be able to make it work, but against Björn, he's a pretty hard nut to crack. I mean, this guy plays a very strong defensive style, but if he wants to play aggressive, we've seen him do that tank, marine only push that's really, really strong. He's got a lot of variety in his builds.
I like that on Slayer Alicia's keyboard that we have the escape button in red.
Yes.
It's like the get me the hell out of there button.
All right, here we go. Loading up Ohana, Alicia versus Björn here at the GSTL with Caldor and Wolf. Well, we have an immediate pause before any actions are actually made in the game. That was the fastest pause I've ever seen. The SVs haven't even been selected by the players yet. But I guess there's some sort of technical difficulty.
I guess so. I think we are probably getting an update as soon as the production team knows what exactly is going on. But it was actually not one of the players pausing the game, but the referee.
Yeah, it looks like there's something with Björn, something about his keyboard.
Oh, it's going to be all fine. All right, the GOM Wizard is moving to the booth.
I saw him going over there, and oh, it's actually with Alicia. No, it is with Björn. That's what I thought. And it's going to be fine. Don't fret, guys. So, during this time, of course, we can talk about the fact that in these matches, if you can spot an issue like this immediately, it's better. They may still get a warning, as this oftentimes does happen, where obviously you should have checked his equipment before or should have checked it better, so the referee will decide. We'll get an update with that very soon. The map is Ohana. It's a 2-player map. The map is pretty good for both races, I would say. The third base is fairly easy to take. It's not risky, really, in this matchup, I would say.
Correct me if I'm wrong here, but as far as I remember, it's actually not well, you didn't say that, but it's not the player that gets the warning, but the team in the GSTL.
The team.
So this happening in the first game is not a problem just yet, but it's a little bit of a problem. It's something that you have to remember.
Yeah, because now if someone has a real problem of some kind, or this occurs again where some setting was not set, then the team may just lose. They may have to forfeit as a result.
What apparently happened is that his keyboard was disconnected. I don't actually know how that can happen when it worked fine before.
You
but
know,
I think
it may have been a driver issue. Oh, literally, we just got an update. The cord literally fell out. Okay. These things happen, man. I guess maybe the solution is to get a keyboard USB extender. I'm always worried about those,
Do you have that sometimes when you play and suddenly your keyboard or your computer is like beeping like crazy because, I don't know,
it makes the same connect-to-disconnect noise, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and your keyboard suddenly doesn't work anymore and you're in the middle of a fight and you're like,
This has happened to me once or twice before, yeah.
It is so stressful. And the thing is, you immediately plug and unplug and plug it in again and then it works, but the fight's over and you're like,
yeah, I've had this happen a few times. I had this old mouse, actually, like, it was a terrible mouse that I got from, like, Walmart or something that I just was trying to use until I had this new Razer mouse at the time. This was, like, 2 years ago, I guess, and I was like, well, I don't want to use my new mouse until this mouse is totally dead. I'm going to keep using it because I'm used to it. Okay. And then, because someone gave me the mouse as a gift, so I was like, all right, I'm going to keep it in the box, all right? And then the mouse just totally broke, and I had to switch, and it kept doing that same disconnect thing. Prime gets a warning, by the way. We just got the update, so As you guys know, we're back in the game, though. Not even a regame. Nothing happened, so we're just going to jump right back into it.
The game got literally paused exactly when the game started at the same time, so I guess that Björn at this time really waved at the camera at the screen. The admins realized there's a problem, paused the game. So here we are. Map number 1, Ohana. Slayers against Prime, Alicia against Björn. And this Terran player in this particular opening match is starting to the bottom right of the map. In the red, we have the Prime player. It is
Björn Prime!
Wow. Yeah. What a starter there. It looks like his keyboard is fine now. QSEN DT35.
I actually think that Street Fighter voice had some lessons with Cat's Pajamas.
Yeah, it may have. And of course, up at the top left from the team, Slayers. Named himself after a dungeon fighter character. He is
Slayers Alicia!
And we have Björn with a gas first in a 2-player map. I really like this choice because Björn does change things up a lot. Amount of Hot 6 consumed and a StarCraft skill. I'm drinking a Hot 6 right now, I will admit it. Yeah, you haven't opened yours yet.
Yeah, because mine is not cooled. I will get a cooled one during the break.
See, I just couldn't wait. Yeah. It's better cold, but I couldn't wait.
No, that stuff is actually really good, guys. Usually, and the thing is, it helps as well. All the other energy drinks that I tried so far, they don't really do anything for me. But so when I think you suggested it first to me, and you're like, "Yeah, well, you should try it. It actually works." And I'm like, "Okay, well, I'll give it a shot." And you were actually right.
You know, I was never a fan of energy drinks. Hot 6 was the first energy drink I ever had, and then I went back to America actually for a brief period of time, and I tried some energy drinks there, and they just were not the same to me. I'm disappointed. But this probe actually, I believe, yeah, he saw the gas first timing. He's trying to be annoying. He's going to have to leave now. Alicia, after seeing the gas first timing, will likely take his second gas, and he does. He needs the robotics to see what his opponent is going to do. He's going to need Immortals, potentially, and it might be a fast drop play. He has to be prepared for any eventuality, so he's got to get that second gas very quickly. Cannot expand right away with this.
Right now he can skill scout a little bit, and he already spotted the factor, which is, of course, no secret as he saw the gas first. Wolf pointed it out. And in the main base of Alicia, we have the core nearly done.
And seeing the factory is really important because it lets him know the factory has not been proxied. There's no Banshee play going to come near his base, no fast Hellion attack, and very likely no second barracks proxied with Tech Lab Marauders coming out. It's very, very safe what he's seen now. And that's really important. I really like how active he was with his Probe Scout.
One thing that we should point out at this point in time is that Björn is not getting his second gas. So it's really unlikely that he's starting with some kind of cloak build. That's not going to happen. So let's see what exactly he's up to. He's already building... oh, we have a Stargate from Alicia.
Yeah, Alicia going with that Stargate play. Really cool because this will allow him to scout. He will likely go Phoenixes, not Void Rays, with the positioning of this. And this really shuts down two things. It shuts down drop play, fast medevac push, and it shuts down Banshee play. So
without cloak.
Yeah, without cloak, of course. Yeah, with cloak it can be a little bit problematic. Look at how he's positioning his gateway as well for Hellions. He is prepared for any eventuality. Very great reactions here by Alicia. Beyond reactoring Hellions out, no Tech Lab on his barracks, so he's probably not going to go for a Hellion Marauder push. He just wants to harass and put a little bit of pressure on with these. And yeah, there's the command center.
I like this very much by Alicia, I have to say. This is a really interesting opening against the style of strategy that Björn chose here, and I have to say that I think it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's not what you would expect.
Exactly.
You would expect the Protoss player to go for the robotics to get the Observer, just in case, at the same time, try to get this expansion to play a normal game and just be as safe as possible. But Alicia doesn't do anything like it. He doesn't take a second base, and this is what Björn just sees. He's trying to go up this ramp, but there's the Stalker, and Björn is like, well, okay, I guess that's not happening now.
Yeah, great positioning there on the Stalker by Alicia. I'm really impressed with him. Like you said, it's a different way to deal with this. It's unorthodox, but it's good, and I like it.
On the other hand, if you are Björn and you scout that your opponent so far does not have an expansion, what do you expect?
You know, that's a really good point, because if you see no expansion, it kind of lets you know that your opponent is going to be probably aggressive in some way once he finds out that you have a command center. So you have to be very defensive. That's why he has his command center on the high ground right now, for example. Putting it on the low ground is a little bit risky, and he doesn't have as much information as Alicia does because he hasn't been able to get up there. He's going to keep denying this expansion. Look at this, killing the probe, Will lose one Hellion as a result, but he's gonna lose both, but he spots the Phoenixes.
Yeah, Alicia shows the Phoenixes, he moves out, shows his opponent what's coming, and now Björn, of course, has to react to this. He has a few Marines in his main base, he's trying to get additional ones. So far, they are without combat shield, and the one thing that Alicia is trying to do now is harass the economy, make sure that his opponent is losing a couple of units, maybe a little bit of mining time as well. And behind all this, he's expanding. Trying to be aggressive while expanding, exactly what he has to do here.
Yeah. And there's the robotics going down. He's probably going to go to robotics support bay as soon as he can. He's continuing to scout. He wants to know if the tech lab has been planted on the factory. So he wants to know, am I going to face siege tanks or not? Nice positioning here by Björn with his Marines, just making sure they're all together, because if any Marine gets isolated for a second, be picked up and killed by that Phoenix immediately. Just be very careful about that. He's stopped Phoenix production altogether. And look at this, he's just going to harass his command center. Yeah, he's not going to be able to kill it or even start it to burn, but he's just doing what he can here, and I love this.
Exactly. Right now, his only job is to annoy Björn as much as possible, and to make sure that Björn's complete attention is focused on his expansion. Oh, nice picks of the mule. Two mules. Great job here. Very well done by Alicia.
Yeah, and this is what you can do when you force your opponent's Marines one way, then you go around the side. Like I said, he has to keep his Marines all together. If he keeps just a few Marines because he thinks that's going to be enough to kill the Phoenixes, that the shields, the Phoenixes can actually take some hits, take out some Marines. Look at this. He's just going to find any units that are away from the Marines and pick them off.
This is actually an older opening. This is an opening we already had like 8-9 months ago when Terran players or when Protoss players struggled against the pushes from Terran with Marines and tanks. So this was one of the options how you could deal with it. You could go for 3 to 4 Phoenixes. You were trying to lift your opponent's tanks as soon as he moves out, and then the push lost a lot of his power. So this is something that will help him later on as well. If Björn decides to go for a tank combination, which currently he does not, but in case he did, then Alicia would still be in a position where he can lift the tanks, can make sure that the tanks don't get the damage done. And this is a build that we've seen on Ohana countless times. Terran players pushing out with Marine tank.
Yeah, and that I think may have been Björn's original plan, but he's altered it a little bit based on what he's seen. This push is really scary. Right now, the army supply 37 to 27 in Björn's favor. Yeah, there are a few force shields available, and he's got the Colossus on the way, but it's not there yet. And he's got medevac, so he can actually lift into the main and do a lot more with this push. He can avoid the force shields entirely.
The timing is very, very dangerous to Alicia here. He needs to go and boost his Colossus. He tries to snipe maybe a few of those medivacs, but of course, what Wolf already mentioned, is he able to take them down? That's the big problem, and I don't think so. Here come the Phoenixes trying to shoot them down, and the Colossus is out. The Colossus is out, and that will help a lot.
That's going to help so much. The Marines at the Natural are firing up. They actually do not go for the probes, and this ends up being a great trade for Alicia. Awesome. Perfect timing with the Phoenixes to come in there like that. I was really worried for him, but he executed this perfectly. Dropped the force shields, then set up the ramp so he couldn't be flanked immediately by those Marines, and Björn is in trouble now. He is behind in tech. He's adding 2 more barracks. He's got +1 armor on the way for his Marines. But, I mean, he's behind in every way, really.
It seems right now that he really wants to stick to this biocom position. The only thing that he tries... Oh, wow, that was huge, actually. Killing those Phoenixes. He got a little bit lucky here. Tried to move out on the map, and Alicia... Well, he flies with the Phoenixes on top of the Marines take them down. But yeah, the problem right now is, of course, that he is focusing still on his bio army, and is, of course, getting some Vikings to counter the Colossi, but Alicia is in a great position here. He defended well, the timing worked in his favor. He has those, he has the expansion. He has actually more harvesters right now, and a lot more than his opponent. Mules are a big contributor here, but still, Alicia so far looking pretty strong, adding all the tech that he needs.
Consider as well that Alicia has had his base mining at his natural first because Björn decided to keep his base on the high ground for a while. Losing those Phoenixes is really important because now he not only can he not use them to scout and see positioning, but he can't kill Vikings.
He is not researching extended thermal lands. He's not adding another Colossus. He's doing nothing like this. Björn right now, he saw Colossi and he builds Vikings. He immediately starts to build Vikings, but there is only one Colossus and Alicia doesn't put any additional resource in this. He's completely faking Björn out here.
Yeah, that's really, really smart. I like this because probably what Björn expects is a Colossus Phoenix composition, which is something that we've seen a long time ago, and still occasionally to this day it comes up every now and then, but with the Phoenixes already there, the Stargate, yeah, he lost a few, but he might be facing that. He's going to make a ton of Vikings. Ghost Academy is going up now, but it's really, really late. This was a great fake out. Look at this observer positioning. He's going to see this. He's going to already moving his units into position to defend. I've been really impressed by both players here. Bjorn not missing a beat with his macro. He's up 20 supply. But Alicia will not be attacked. He will not be picked apart.
And still Vikings in production for Bjorn. He does not really know that that he stopped completely the Colossi production at all. So this is definitely going to be a big problem for him. Also the upgrades that Alicia is starting here with Charge, with Storm, with +2/+2. All this is working in to Alicia's advantage. So I have to say that Bjorn needs to scout this. He needs to know what exactly is going to happen because those Vikings won't do him any good at all.
Yeah, they're going to be dead weight. One Colossus only against that many Vikings. The Colossus sure isn't going to do a lot, but he's spent so many more resources on these Vikings there, and he sees them. He's like, wow, okay, you're still making these Vikings. My Storm is done. The High Templar count now at 3. Fourth one on the way. He's going to be able to make Archons immediately after he drops those Storms. And the upgrade advantage is going to be insane as well. Right now it's 2-1. Actually, no, he doesn't quite have that +2 armor yet. It's 1-1 to 1-1 at this very moment. Feedback goes down, and look at that Storm. It hits all of the Marines.
And the big problem is because he was producing so many Vikings, now he doesn't have the Medivacs. He's just building them. He has 2 so far, but that's basically it. And then not with the army just yet. So this is a huge, huge advantage for Alicia. He faked his opponent into building so many Vikings, and it's not only about the resources and the supply that has been taken up, but it's also about the time. He only has 1 starport, so he neglected the Medivac production.
Now the concern for Alicia right now is going to be the third base of Bjorn. He's still up in supply, Bjorn is right now. And yeah, his composition is not ideal, but it's decent. And he's got a Marine at the third base. He knows no Nexus has been planted there. He's got a factory at the other potential third base. So he basically knows, all right, I'm going to get ahead in economy because I'm scaring him enough. He's staying in his base. I'm ahead in supply right now. The only thing that he has going for him really is upgrades. 1-1 right now to 2-1 with +2 attack on the way for Alicia as well as +3 armor. So he's about to get way ahead in upgrades.
Dangerous to Alicia are the ghosts. He has a lot of them already. 5 ghosts so far, and he's getting additional 3, whereas there are only 4 High Templars for the feedback and the Storms. So that's definitely a problem. Here comes the engagement. Of course, we have the EMPs and a snipe. Another Storm hits, but only the Vikings, and that's something that he actually doesn't want to kill here.
Yep, and look at this. This is actually not good for Alicia. This is an awkward position to engage. That Photon Cannon becoming very useful here. But he needs to fight with his Zealots, and the army is so densely packed that he has no Storms. He's got one on the ramp.
There it is the one temp. No, he snipes the Templar.
Nice
Brilliant by Bjorn.
And this could be the end of Alicia, as this is way too densely packed for these Zealots to do their damage. Look at how low hit points those Marines are.
Wow, and this is because he doesn't have the Medivacs. It's because he doesn't have the Medivacs, and just think about 1 Storm in here. 1 Storm, that's all he needs, but he does not have the Templar with the energy. A big problem for him. He gets his probes in there. He's really desperate right now.
Yeah, EMP is hitting everything as the Ghost reinforce here. All the probes are dead. He's down to 27. And Bjorn from the Team Prime going to take this first game despite early losses. Just with great unit control and decision making here. Never missing a beat with his macro. And that is it. GG.
GG. A great, great game. Alicia in this game, definitely the player who had the better strategy in regards to how he faked his opponent out, how he played it. But the unit control, this was what made this game work in Bjorn's favor. He was able to take down every single of these High Templars. There were no Storms whatsoever. Only 1 Storm, that's the one of the Vikings that didn't help him at all. If the 1 Templar that he had on the high ground would have been able to storm the ramp like once or twice, this fight would have ended in Alicia's favor. But with the unit control that Bjorn has shown here, with the EMPs, with the snipes, he was just in a better position and took the game, even though the Slayers player got him, he caught him a little bit off-foot here, off balance.
And I will say that part of the strength of these pushes that we were seeing from Terrans on this map, on Entombed, we saw them on Shakuras. It comes down to the secondary ramp and how you use that. The position in between the third and the main, we see this on Entombed. A lot of the time, how many times have you seen a Protoss army die on Entombed in between the third and the natural because they can't close the distance on the Marines? The Marines are too tightly packed. The Zealots can't do their damage. It begs the question, are people making too many Zealots? Are people not making enough Stalkers? And why are the Templar positioned in such a way that they cannot storm?
He only had 4 Templar. I would have actually expected him to get more than only 4 of them.
I agree.
It was also... I'm not quite sure if he misclicked with the Templar on the high ground, because if he stays on the high ground and casts a storm down the ramp, he can still stay on the high ground. But the Templar walked all the way down the ramp, tried to get behind the army, and I'm not quite sure if he tried to walk the Templar there because he wanted to give a better edge, or if he just misclicked the storm, and in order to get there, the Templar had to move.
If he pressed it outside of the range from the high ground, then he would have had to walk around, and that seems like likely what happened. That Templar had almost full energy. Yeah. That would have been the most valuable player.
That's 2 storms at least that he can place down before he dies if he executes.
And if he got one of those, just one, he would have been able to hold there, and it wouldn't have put him in a good position. He lost a lot already, but that would have helped him not die at the very least.
You mentioned how low the hit points of all these Marines were, exactly because Jan did not have enough medivacs. Yeah. So suddenly when he had to stim over and over and over again, he lost those hit points. One storm into this chunk of Marines, and they would have all died. So very well executed by Björn.
Yeah.
It's really great that he was able with his ghosts to snipe all these Templars, and that's exactly what he needed to do to win the game.
Yeah, it was phenomenal control, great positioning, great decision-making. Every attack he made was so well-timed. Yeah. And Alicia's reaction and decision-making was great as well. He had used some trickery, some cunning, really nice execution with his Phoenixes. What he did with them was more than most people would have even expected him to do. That was great. But in the end, he could not engage the way he needed to. You know, a lot of these Protoss players are trying to fight at the top of the ramp. With that many Zealots, I think the engagement should be brought outside of the ramp. I mean, that's where you can actually close distance on these Marines that surround them, instead of fighting on the ramp where you're watching Zealots run back and forth like this, not able to fight.
What you can see here is that as a Protoss player really needs some area of effect damage in order to take down the Terran. Usually, most of them rely on a Colossus composition. This time, Alicia faked him out a little bit, but if you completely neglect the Colossi and you're on 2 bases, then you need to have at least some storms in there. Parting shows this over and over again, but Alicia here was not able to execute the storm placement and the storm play as he wanted to, and therefore the Marines and Marauders were just way too strong. But well played by Björn. When he realized that he was actually in a bit of a tough spot in regards to his strategy, he attacked and made the best out of the unit control and was able to force his way into the second game of the day.
Well, who's going to come out second? That is the question. It's going to be Coca, a great choice. And, well, they have some history, that's for sure.
Yeah, they do. They indeed do. The infamous Coca and Björn accident.
And, you know, oddly enough, that incident was them being friendly to each other. But it's one that has been the talk of many debates. But either way, they're going to face each other here, so it's kind of an ironic situation. I'm pretty sure they're going to fight this one through 100%.
Yes, definitely. There is no doubt in my mind.
Well, this is such a cool match that we get to watch. Coca recently, unlike Björn, when he made his comeback, he was not as dominant as he once was. He was one of the first Zerg players to use Infestors off of 2 base against Protoss. He kind of revolutionized ZVP in that way, I would say, in Korea. But since then, he hasn't looked dominant. He doesn't look weak, but he hasn't looked dominant. Look at his average win, 0.29 there.
Yeah, you're right. Björn was definitely, since they both came back into the GSTL, into the GSL, the more successful player. But this doesn't take anything away from Coca. He's a great Zerg player, and Björn has to be careful here. But guys, we're having a 5-minute break before we are coming back with the second game here at the GSTL between Slayers and Prime. It's going to be Coca versus Björn. Stay tuned, and we'll be back after 5.